These are the solutions for problems 115 to 127. So number 115 is a projectile problem, so let's take a look at it. And it asks us to find out when the item will hit the ground. So that means we're going to put 0 in place of h, and then we're going to try to factor. And so I'm going to do something to cancel out this negative sign in front of the x squared or the t squared term here. I'm going to divide everything by -1. So when I do that, both sides I divide by -1. Now I have 16t squared plus, or actually now it's going to be a minus 72t and a minus 15. So everything's switched. All the signs switch. And now I'm going to go ahead and factor. And so when I factor, my guess is that I'm going to have 5 and 3 for the numbers that multiply to make 15. Now, I know that the outside and inside terms need to subtract to make 72. So I need to get 5 to multiply by something that makes it bigger than 72. So if I do 16, that makes 80. And then 1t here, subtract it from the 3, and that would give me 77. That's what it's supposed to be, not 72 here. So 77 is the term there, and that does end up working. So if I make it a -5 and a +3, those will subtract to make the -77, which is what I need. So I set that equal to 0, and I come up with two answers. So t is going to either equal -3/16 or +5. And +5 is the one I'm going to go with because that is a positive number. And so we don't have time in negative seconds, we have time in positive seconds. So 5 seconds is our answer there. So let's take a look at another one there. And on this next one, it says the projectile is modeled by this function, and we need to find the time it impacts the ground. Same thing, put 0 in place of h. Divide by the -1, now we've got 5t squared minus 28t minus 12. And so when I go ahead and factor this, again, this is all set equal to 0. I'm going to start with the 5t and the t. Those are the numbers that multiply to make the 5t squared. Now, numbers that multiply to make 12. Now, remember, I want to get something bigger than 28. So if I put a 6 here and a 2 here, those will subtract to make 28. Now, to make it negative, we'll put the minus sign there, the plus sign there, and we're ready to solve. So -2/5 is one of the answers. The other is 6. Well, we don't go with the negative time, we go with the positive time. So 6 seconds is the answer. Area of a triangle is 18 square feet. And it says the base is, so right away, you go ahead and write base equals, and then 1 more than twice the height. So 1 more means I'm adding 1 to 2 times the height. All right, well, it says we're supposed to find the base and the height. So remember, the triangle looks like this. And here's our height, here's our base, which is, instead of that, it's 2h plus 1. And our area formula goes this way. Area equals 1/2 the base times by the height. So we're going to substitute some numbers in there. 18 in place of the area, 1/2, and in place of b, we're going to write 2h plus 1. But I'm going to write the h first there. 1/2 h, and then 2h plus 1. So I go ahead and distribute. And now I've got this, 18 equals 1/2, and then 1/2 times 2. Let's go ahead and fix that real quick. That's going to just give us h squared, but it's a plus 1/2 h. Well, it's kind of difficult to factor with the fraction in there. We're not used to doing that, so let's go ahead and get rid of this. To get rid of a fraction, just multiply by its denominator. So if I multiply both sides by 2, now I've got this. 36 equals a 2h squared plus h. 1/2 of 2 is 1. So I can go ahead and move this 36 over. So let's go ahead and rewrite it. 2h squared, and then plus h minus 36. Well, I'll go ahead and factor now. And I'll start with the 2h and the h. Numbers that multiply to make 36 would be 9 and 4. So if I put the 9 here and the 4 here, I can get those to subtract. The outside and inside terms to subtract to make 1. To make it a positive 1, we'll make the 9 positive and the 4 negative. Go ahead and solve. You got 9/2, -9/2 that is, and a positive 4. We'll go with the positive 4, so we've got h equals 4 feet. And to solve for the base, we'll just substitute. Substitute that 4 feet right in for h right here. Times by 2, add 1. So the base equals, and that's going to be 4 times 2 is 8, plus 1 makes 9. So 9 feet is the base. So those are our two answers there. This next one talks about a rectangle, gives us a little formula there, is 118 units, whatever those units are, inches squared it looks like. And it says that area of the rectangle is, oh no, this is problem 118. Oh, I'm sorry. The area of the rectangle is 42 inches squared. The length is 1 less. Okay, let's write that down. Length is 1 less than 5 times the width. All right, so our area formula goes this way, length times width. So let's go ahead and write those numbers in there. 42, and for area, equals the length, but instead of length, we're going to write 5w minus 1. Well, the width is just w, so it's the same thing, distribute. So now I got 42 equals 5w squared minus w. Well, move that 42 over, now we've got this, 5w squared minus w minus 42 all equals 0. So we can go ahead and factor real quick. We know 5w and w make the 5w squared. Numbers that make 42. Well, let's see here. 14 times by 3 does. So let's put the 14 here and the 3 here. And we'll put a minus sign right here to make that a negative 15 and a positive 14. So when we solve, we end up with two values of w. Either negative 14 fifths or 3. Which one would you take? Well, I'd take the positive one. So 3 inches is our width. So this equals w. To find the length, just substitute. Length equals 5w, so 5 times 3 minus 1. So that's 15 minus 1 makes 14. So 14 is the length. Well, moving on to these other problems, we're supposed to factor in order to cancel. And that's what we need to do here. So we're going to go ahead and factor this trinomial. We got the c plus 4. That doesn't change. But down below, this factors to a c plus 4 times by a c minus or plus 1. And so the c plus 4's cancel out, so what's left on top is 1 over c plus 1. The next one here, I divide by 2, and I've got 2 and then an n minus 16. Actually, you've got to divide the 16 by 2 also, so let's go ahead and change that to an n minus 8. Well, whenever you see the constant first, variable second, take out a negative 1. That way you get things to cancel. So put the negative 1 there, and then it's a difference of squares. It'll factor to an n minus 8 and an n plus 8. And then you can cancel out those n minus 8s and write your answer. So I'm going to divide the 2 by negative 1, so I get negative 2 over an n plus 8. Next one, take out the common factor again. 4d is the big number there. So when you take out that 4d, what's left over is a d minus 2. Well, down below it's a trinomial. It factors as two binomials, d plus 6 and a d minus 2. So we get those d minus 2s to cancel. 4d over d plus 6 is our answer. Next one's two trinomials. Those will factor to a c plus, let's go with a 3 and a c plus 2. Those numbers are multiplied to make 6 and add to make 5, so it does work out. The denominator is going to be a c minus 4 and a c plus 3. And those numbers are multiplied to make negative 12, subtract to make negative 1. C plus 3's cancel out. Got the c plus 2 on top and the c minus 4 on the bottom of the fraction. Down below, it's a common factor of 3x squared. That's what you're going to take on the outside of the parenthesis and then do the division, and what's left over is just an x minus 3. And so when we go ahead and do the factoring of the denominator, we've got a x minus 3 and an x plus 1. And then I can get those x minus 3's to cancel. So I got 3x squared on top, down below an x plus 1. That's the factored form. So over here we're multiplying some rational expressions. So take out a common factor again. You got 6n. These are the common factors. So divide by 6n, I've got an n plus 3. And then I'll continue on the top of this fraction. I got n squared minus 1. So that's a difference of squares. It factors to a sum and a difference, n plus 1, n minus 1. Looking at the denominator of that first fraction, I've got a trinomial. It factors to an n plus 8 and an n plus 1. And then over on this other part, you got a common factor of 2. So pull out the 2, then put in the n plus 3. And then we can go ahead and do some reducing. So the n plus 3's cancel out. We got the n plus 1's canceling. 2 goes into 6 3 times, and that's all we can do. So what's left over is a 3n times by n minus 1. Not x's this time, but n's. So let me fix that. And then down below, it looks like we've just got the n plus 8. That would be our answer. Well, this next one is a trinomial on top. It factors to an r plus 14 and an r plus 1. Those are the numbers that multiply to make 14, but add to make 15. Up on top, we got a common factor of 2. Do the division, you got an r plus 4. Then here we've got r squared minus 16. That factors to an r minus 4 and an r plus 4. And then over on the other part, we just have a common factor of r. So take out that r, put it on the outside, do the division, you get an r plus 1. So now we're ready to cancel. Looks like we got an r plus 1 that we can take out, an r plus 4 that will disappear, and so what's left over is a 2 times by r plus 14. And then down below we got the r times by r minus 4. Next problem is division. So we do the same sort of thing on top though. Got to take out the common factor of 6m. So do that division. You got 6m on the outside and m minus 3. And then we're going to multiply by the reciprocal. So put the denominator on top. It factors to an m plus 3 and an m plus 1. And then we go ahead and take out the common factor of 12m squared here. So 12m squared goes on the outside. Do the division. You got an m plus 1. Now the m squared minus 9, that's going down below. So we go ahead and factor that. Factors to an m plus 3 and an m minus 3. And so now we're ready to go ahead and cancel. So we can go ahead and cancel out those m minus 3s, m plus 3s, m plus 1s, and also some m's here. See, this m will take out one of the m's here, and then 6 goes into 12 2 times. So everything canceled on top. So to show that, we put 1 on top, and then 2m on the bottom of the fraction. One more problem to go. We've got x squared minus 9 on top, so that factors to an x minus 3 and an x plus 3. And then we'll continue, but the 16x goes on top now because we're changing it to multiplication. And so we'll put the 16x up here. And now looking on the bottom of that first fraction, it's a trinomial. It factors to an x plus 3 and an x plus 3. And then the numerator is going to be going down below, but there's a common factor of 4x. So let's put that 4x on the outside. Do the division, you've got an x minus 3. So now we're ready to cancel. So we can cancel the x plus 3's, x minus 3, and then 4x goes into the 16x 4 times. So what's left over is just a 4 on top, down below the x plus 3. And that is our answer. So those are problems up through 27. Check other parts for other problems.